Meeting of the Milliken Board of Trustees for April 27, 2022 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the town clerk please call roll?
Trustee Beckman? Here. Trustee Dean?
Here.
Trustee Lane?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Here.
Mayor Austin?
Here.
I'd like to note that Trustee Rodriguez is absent.
Thank you. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yeah, Mayor, got one addition on item 7. Before the swearing-in ceremony, we need to add the appointment of a new trustee.
Thank you. Any other changes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the agenda with changes.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Anybody that would like to get up and make a speech? No? All right, we'll skip right over that section. Meeting minutes. Now we have two sections of meeting minutes. We have the meeting minutes of April 13th, 2022 for a motion.
I move to accept the minutes for April 13th. Mm-hmm. For April 13th.
First meeting.
First meeting. Sorry.
Second.
Okay. Please call for a vote.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman? Yes. Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'll take a motion on the second meeting minutes of April 13, 2022.
I move to approve the minutes of the second meeting for April 13th, 2022.
I second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Beckman? Yes. Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we interviewed two candidates to fulfill the open trustee position. Completing those interviews, I will now take a motion on appointing a candidate.
I move to appoint Peggy Wakeman.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
No.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we move to the swearing in.
Please repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm. That I will support and enforce. The Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
The Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
And the state of Colorado.
And the state of Colorado.
And the ordinances of the town of Milliken.
And the ordinances of the town of Milliken.
And shall faithfully perform.
And shall faithfully perform.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
The duties of office.
The duties of office.
Of trustee.
Of trustee.
Which I'm about to enter.
Which I'm about to enter.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the acknowledgement of paid listed bills. Does anybody have any questions on the paid listed bills?
No.
Mayor, I would like to point out just a couple questions I got during the week, just so everybody knows what was asked and responded to. The first one was a payment to Jake Bachman for $1,942.76. What that was a refund of a deposit that for the Black Sheep Coffee for the conditional land use for the drive-through at the property. And so what we did was when we got through all of that process, we had to refund the remainder of his deposit. And then the second one that I got a question on this week was on the Visa bills. There was a payment to Whiteside's Boots for employee staff boots, and the question was if it was for more than one employee, my response was yes, it was $149.99. It was for one employee. Our policy would require our this was a park employee. We require our parks employees to have these safety boots for work, and this was a payment for one pair of boots for one employee. And I just want to bring those up, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Next item on the agenda is the Town Administrator's Report. Administrator Powell.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have been busy. We've got broadband going. We have different meetings that we've been attending, but I'll start with the broadband. So the four towns, so Berthoud, Meade, Johnstown, and Milliken will be meeting with ALLO representatives. So ALLO is a broadband company on Monday, May 2nd, to discuss the agreements and right-of-way permitting. ALLO representatives have indicated to us that they remain committed to building fiber in our four towns. So we're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty in these agreements. And so I will keep you updated as those happen. I'm sure it's hard for them to coordinate with four towns. It's important to them because there's a lot of people within these four towns. But we want to make sure the process goes as simply as it can. Also, the mayor and I attended a school board work session to discuss long-range task forces. Shannon Bingham, the district demographer, spoke and explained his role with the task force. The task force will include community stakeholders and other representatives of the community that would be ideal on this committee. And so we'll keep you updated as we learn more about this task force. Sidewalk repairs have begun, right, John? I heard the guy is out grinding down sidewalks. We're trying to take care of all the trip hazards and replace some sidewalks that are in total disrepair. So it's a 5-year plan, if I'm remembering correct. So this is the first phase of that. Parks, the open spaces are, the sprinkling systems are being inspected and checked, getting ready for the season. So here we go. Weeds are growing and mowing will begin. So it's right around the corner. It was really fun. On Friday, April 15th, I joined our Public Works crew and Greg, and I'm going to mutilate his last name, Zalson, with the Colorado State Forester Service, and we planted 3 trees in Lola Park. Milliken is a tree city. We do this every year, and it's really a pleasure to be able to get out there with these guys and do this. A lot of our trees have aged. Unfortunately, we had to have an old tree removed from Lola Park this last year. So we've got newer trees in the park growing so that park will always remain as beautiful as it is. That's about what I have for this week.
Okay, thank you. Do the board members have any questions of the administrator?
I have a question.
Did they give us any time frame on the fiber optic at all? Is there any indication of any change or anything?
So I think we'll know more after this meeting. Originally, it was spoken that they would begin in the fall. So I don't know if any of that has changed. So let's keep our fingers crossed. And I do believe they're asking for 36 months in order to complete it all, which I think is, they think they can get it done sooner than that. But as we know, sometimes things don't go as well as we planned.
Depends on the weather.
And a lot of things, supplies are another thing right now. But yeah, I'm just excited to get it underway for our community.
Yes.
So
We have a lot of town residents that are quite excited about that. So.
Well, it's nice to have choices.
Yes.
And it's a non-exclusive. It will be a non-exclusive franchise agreement, so it doesn't mean that another company can't come in as well. But but choice is what you want to let people have. So anyway, it's been a long process, but we're getting there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which we have one item, the Frontier Water Systems Seahawk nutrient purchase. I'll take a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Sorry, who seconded?
Second, sorry.
Okay.
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Trustee Dean? Trustee
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. First item on the action agenda is the Town of Milliken's 23 3/4 Rehabilitation Improvement Project. Cheryl Powell, Town Administrator.
Yes, Mayor. This was a project that we've had on our list of projects and goals to take care of. We had budgeted for it for this year with the hopes also of installing a signal light. Weld County Road 23 3/4 is in quite bad shape, to put it mildly. We have heavy equipment going up and down that road. It is an industrial area, so that's to be expected. A lot of oil and gas businesses out in that area, plus Burnco is out there. And the road is crumbling, particularly on the east side, where we've had to fill in with a lot of asphalt every year. I think it's becoming a little bit on the hazardous side, especially with this amount of trucks and the size of trucks going up and down that road. So as we'd like to move forward with the plan anyway, even though we're not getting the signal light right now, we can still improve the road, put curb and gutter in, and take that road up and put down the kind of road that endures that kind of traffic. So we did receive a grant for $25,000 from the Department of Local Affairs to go towards the engineering on this project. The engineering is just a little under $100,000. Once the engineering is done, then we would probably we will apply for a Tier 3 or Tier 2 grant rather with the Department of Local Affairs to see if we can get more funding towards that road. It's not going to be an inexpensive project. It's going to be a costly project.
Okay, questions from the board, starting with Trustee Dean.
No, I don't have any questions.
Trustee Beckman.
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
I have no questions.
Trustee Lane.
At East Ash, does it go back? I mean, it stays gravel then? It ends at the intersection at the stop sign?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Trustee Wakeman. Any questions?
Yes, thank you. Do we have any projections on cost on that? I know obviously we need the engineering to do it, but any estimates or guesses?
Where's Wade? So he's hiding over there. So typically, The engineering is approximately
About 10%.
10% of what the project's going to cost, right? I didn't want to
Yeah. Yeah, usually your engineering is going to be about 10%, so that's coming in right under 100,000. But based on the availability of concrete and the cost of that, yeah, I would expect it to be substantially higher than the 10% that we'd normally expect. But yeah, I think once this study is completed, I think we'll have a lot better feel for that. We budgeted $1.5 million for the project, with the hope that we would get a grant for a large portion of it, but because I don't believe we intended to complete the project with the signal for the $1.5 million. Whether or not we can do just the road improvements themselves for that is kind of yet to be seen.
And I'm sorry, I don't know if I missed it. How far north are we going?
So it would go north to Ash.
To Ash.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Sorry. Do you know do they have an idea of how long that will take to do this?
No.
No timeline?
No. Well, what we would do is we'll get the engineering done, and then once that's completed, we would have to put it out for bid.
Okay.
And that's where we'll know.
Okay. And then do we know if we end up getting a light, would they have to tear any of it up?
No, so that would be on the, they will put any infrastructure, meaning, what are those, conduit, or whatever that needs to be.
For any
they'll
future.
Make sure that's in there already.
Okay.
Knowing that at some point in time, we are going to have a signal light there.
Okay, perfect.
They just won't do out on towards 60, right at that section.
Okay.
Because that will probably get torn up with the signal light, so.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board in general? Hearing none, I'll take a motion on the matter.
I move to authorize the town administrator to sign the proposal from Tate and Associates for planning and engineering services for the Will County Road 23 3/4 Street rehabilitation improvements.
I second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the tolling agreement with Stanek Constructors Incorporated and Frontier Water Systems. This is Matt Gould, Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Austin. The agreement that is before you is intended to basically buy some time to negotiate with Stanek. That's the town's contractor on construction of the reverse osmosis plant. Some issues have arisen with the performance at the plant, and we're continuing to discuss those, but this agreement would toll the statutes of limitation that could apply and allow additional time to negotiate without forcing us to make a decision on a possible lawsuit. This has been approved by attorneys for Frontier and Stanek, and we have set an effective date of May 1st in this agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions from the board, starting with Trustee Wakeman.
No questions.
Trustee Lane.
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
I have no questions.
Trustee Beckman.
No questions.
Trustee Dean.
No questions.
All right, if there's no questions or discussions, I'll take a motion on the matter.
Make a motion, we approve the tolling agreement with Stanek Constructors Incorporated and Frontier Water Systems LLC to toll the statutes of limitations that may be pertinent to issues that have arisen regarding the town's reverse osmosis plant.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, the next. The next item on the agenda is a request from the Milliken Events Committee, and I am the president of the Milliken Events Committee, so I am recusing myself since it is a conflict of interest. Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich will take over the meeting.
Okay, we have a request from the Milliken Events Committee seeking permission from the town board to use town-owned property for the purpose of a beer garden / liquor areas for various events.
Good evening, Board. Tonight, the Milliken Events Committee is seeking permission from the town, which is a requirement of the special events permit licensing for various events to be held at Millhouse Coffee. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Lynette to give you guys more information on those events and what exactly they're looking to do.
Okay.
I'm Lynette, and I'm owner of Millhouse. So what we're asking is for Milliken Events to sponsor the beer garden. We will not be doing any liquor, to be beer and wine. For our cornhole tournaments, which are every other Friday. It started last Friday, and it will go until October, the first Friday in October. And then we have 2 paint and sips that we're also asking for permission. The cornhole tournaments are held on the back patio, so we would fence it off so that they could not leave a certain area or inside of Millhouse only.
Okay. Have any questions from the board? Peggy?
No.
No.
No?
Is this an event that, has this happened before?
The request for the special event? We have usually, we have a couple a year. Beer garden requests, once for Beef and Bean Day. This is something new.
Okay.
So, everything, I do believe your servers are tip.
It would be my husband and myself, and we are
Okay.
both tip
You guys are
certified.
Tip certified?
Yes.
Okay.
No questions?
No questions?
I
No.
did leave a motion for you guys on the table. I apologize if you choose to
Okay.
entertain one.
So we have a prepared motion. I would accept a motion on this special events request.
I move to grant permission to the Milliken Events Committee and to approve the use of town-owned property for the purpose of a beer garden / liquor areas for various events.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Can you call the mayor back in, Wade, please? Thank you.
Need your help on this.
The request was approved.
Why, thank you. In furtherance of the town's activities. All righty. Next item goes to our discussion agenda, and we have a discussion on the upcoming trash and recycling request for proposals from Wade Nickerson, Finance Director.
Good evening. This discussion is to provide staff with some feedback from the board on what we want to include or exclude from our current trash and recycling service. There's been a lot of discussion in the last several years about what type of services we want, and I included a few on the list. We currently have trash and recycling. We know that there are companies out there that will offer curbside bulk pickup where we do our spring and fall cleanups. They'll come and do drive-bys, like on a, certain Saturdays of the month, that type of thing. There's companies out there that offer composting. anyway, so what staff's kind of looking for is an idea of what the board wants us to include. Of course, everything we include will come at a cost. So the way our trash service works is the town basically acts as a pass-through. The costs that the providers charge the town get charged to individual residents. And so I just want to bear in mind that anything that we request will probably increase the cost to our customers, our citizens. And with that, I'd just kind of like you guys to throw some ideas at me, what you want us to include.
I think the cleanup days are important, whether we have one or two. I think the staff needs to inform us on how successful. We used to have two, and then we went to one. Is it sufficient? Because I don't know. I'm not out there. Is it sufficient enough to keep the town looking decent? So I think that is an important feature to have with our trash service. Cool. Feel free. This is open discussion.
I've never been able to participate in the Saturdays with my jobs, and I was wondering if there was any way to extend it or do something where it's not just one day and those certain hours, because there's certain people that they always work on a Saturday. Can we mix it up a little bit? Or I know Saturday is the best day for most people, but is there any way that we could leave the gate open, say, hey, we're going to extend it for individuals during the week?
Or possibly like a branch pickup where they can pick up, around the neighborhood, so you don't have to haul it.
Yeah, and that is an option. Our current provider does offer in the curbside bulk pickup. Currently, they currently offer it right now with our service, and it's a one-time fee to the resident, to the customer. But they're able to do. I think they normally a town this size, they could do it in one day, but they would pick one day where rather than hauling stuff to a dump site, they will come and pick it up. You have to get it to the curb, and it's probably a Saturday. I apologize for that. But it would not be hauling it. It would be curbside pickup for that type of stuff.
How comparable is the curbside pickup price to the one location everybody brings it in? Because we charge people $10 a load.
Yeah, we charge people $10 to drop off a load. The cost for that is around $10,000, $9,200, something like that was what it was. It's based on the amount of garbage it's collected, tonnage, as well as the number of trips that they have to make. If you have something really huge and it doesn't weigh anything, we get charged both ways. The curbside pickup, when we looked at it late last year, middle of the year last year, it was going to be I believe it was $48,000. And that's just for the service. Then you pay for the tonnage on top of that, because at that point in time they have to pull people in for an additional day of work, basically is how that works. So the price is substantially higher than the drop off, because they really only need a handful of employees to work that.
Well, in years past, didn't we have people that volunteered to help, like pick up, like they offered to pick up and take it out there?
We did. It was citizens.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I mean, I probably would participate in that if it wouldn't cost me a lot more to have someone come and pick it up.
Because theoretically, if the board would like the curbside pickup, we would include that in the contract, and then theoretically we'd spread that over 12 months, and so maybe the cost wouldn't be a lot on a monthly bill. I mean, a lot's a very vague term, and I understand that. But we could spread it out amongst 3,000 customers, and that $48,000 over 3,000 customers in 12 months of the year, it seems like a smaller amount.
I don't know, it's still 4.5 times. You know, it's
Yes.
you know, and how many people would actually take advantage of that, you know, of that service when it cost us 4.5 times what it costs for people to just take it out there?
Yeah.
If it's 48,000 over 12 months, that's 4,000 a month by 3,000 homes, so that's $100, isn't it?
4,000 a month divided by 3,000, it'd be $1 a month.
Yeah, okay, $1 a month, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Lost my zero there.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, and that's based on what we know. When we actually go out for bid for that number may be.
The number's going to change.
Yeah, it might be substantially higher than that. Yeah. It's all just kind of.
Can they bid it both ways?
Yeah, we could include it in the RFP though, right?
We could include it. Similar to what we did in the RFP is here's the minimum of what we want. We know we want A and B and C. In addition, please bid the cost of this curbside pickup type of thing. Mm-hmm. We can definitely do that if that's what we'd like to have done.
I'm just trying to think of citizens that, you know, might be older or don't have a truck or, you know, don't have a friend with a truck.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number for our fall cleanup last year, but I believe it was 150 people that utilized the drop-off. Mm-hmm. And I say that loosely because some people bring 3 loads. So, but, you know, we had that many loads dropped off where we would, I guess, assume that there'd be more usage with a curbside pickup because then people don't have to have a truck and they could just haul out, you know, a load of branches if that's all they really had.
Yes, Trustee Lane, in years past, we did have volunteers that had trailers that would go to people's homes that did not have trucks and or were elderly and couldn't do this themselves or for whatever reason. And it was a great community effort. I mean, there was some really special people that provided that service, and it was free of charge from them, if I understand correct.
And maybe we could internally, like in the town, have a curb pickup day where they put it on their curb and we have volunteers that pick up, you know, so it wouldn't have to be as like coordinated. I could see that being a difficult part of it.
Right. We would have to do it in conjunction with the cleanup day.
Right.
Because we would have the equipment
but we wouldn't have to pay them is my, to pick up.
Right. I mean, they would still have to pay for the dump fee, but not for the special service of having it picked up.
Yeah, I recall that happening a couple of times in the neighborhood where they just come out and pick up odds and ends everywhere and take them out, some volunteers.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood was always looking for volunteers, but then it stopped for some reason. I don't know why.
Because it's hard to get volunteers.
Yeah.
That's the key word, volunteers.
Yeah.
When diesel fuel is $5 a gallon, not very many people are going to want to drive around town and help their neighbors. And I know that that's an issue, but I mean, it's also fact.
Another area that I'm just curious about, and it may not fall within the garbage, the trash collection, but hazardous materials. It seemed like on occasion there were some hazardous material days where people could drop off paint or whatever. And I haven't seen that for a while. Has that just gone by the wayside? And it may have been in conjunction with the county.
No, actually, we did do that with our cleanup days. And so it's another area we can look at, trying to find those certain vendors, people that would come in and do that. The same thing with electronics.
Yeah.
So we can certainly look at, excuse me?
I was going to say, the paint, we could encourage them to drop it off at Ace Hardware. They take all that paint. It's right over there in Johnstown.
So, but the
But
electronics.
yes, I know exactly what you're speaking of, yeah.
Well, and old yard chemicals, things like that,
Correct.
is hard to get rid of.
Right, you don't want to
Vehicle
put them in your trash can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it fits with this or some other program. It just,
Well, we can ask if it fits with this, and then that's good feedback, because right now our current provider, they won't take certain hazardous materials. Most of those are, like Cheryl said, we had to call in a special company to come pick that stuff up, because most of your normal trash recycling type processors can't handle that hazardous weird stuff.
Tires.
Tires, oil, electronics, chemicals, yeah.
just something to think about.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion?
I have a question about the recycle. Do we know what kind of participation we have, and is it beneficial to the community to have the recycle program?
So I don't know the exact percentage, but I was going to say, yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was about half of our residents use it. It is beneficial to the community, just because, it's that much less stuff going into the landfill. But I would be cautious to eliminate a service, because there are people using it, and I think that the more residents we get, the more usage we'll get out of the recycle.
I just personally feel like the recycle items are what probably disintegrates in the trash collection, and then you hear that talk every once in a while that one small item in a load contaminates the whole load and cannot be recycled, and it's pricey. So
Yeah, and we get reports from Waste Management, our current provider, on how much of the total tonnage is diverted to recycle, and they let us know how much has been contaminated and all that. So we have a pretty good feel for what they're collecting. And we would require that from part of the RFP is you have to give us that information so that we can determine if it's actually beneficial or not.
I think too, like if there's ways that we can grow in that, Waste Management can help with like a campaign. I think that we're probably not utilizing Waste Management to the, what they can actually do. So I think even just hearing more about what they can do and helping the town do better is a huge opportunity as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I know they have the campaigns. I think they really focus on schools to get the kids to understand what to do with the plastic bottle or a tin can or, a cardboard box. And so I agree. We probably need more of that.
I would bet they would even do like fresh stickers for our recycle bins or something like that, where you can just put a fresh sticker on your recycle bin to like remind yourself what's okay and what's not. Something silly like that. I guarantee they would have some sort of idea like that. Just an idea.
I would agree with that, and I think that perhaps promoting it, because I certainly don't mind paying for it, but education and promotion probably are good things for us to do.
Yeah.
And only the customers that utilize it do pay for it, correct?
Yep.
Right, but like I notice in my block, there's maybe 3 of us out of 10 homes that use it, and just wondered.
And I was looking at your items in there, I see they have customer service dealing with customer service, do they have any process, or is there any process in the agreement for resolving customer concerns?
Yes, they do. I mean, they have their own processes for dealing with customer concerns. I think the biggest issue that our customers face is the fact that since it's a contract through the town, if you call Waste Management, they're not always able to find an individual's name. So then it kind of falls back on my staff to resolve those conflicts. Waste Management does have the ability to set up those contracts correctly, and so we'll make sure that happens going forward, because a customer should be able to call the person that's servicing them and resolve the issues. I'm looking at Courtney because she handles a lot of those calls. We don't get a lot of complaint calls regarding Waste Management.
It's gotten a lot better.
It's gotten much better. I think that, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I've got a quick question about the whole process about bidding out, because does Waste Management get I can't think of the right word, but like a credit or, I'm trying to think what to say here. Well, just looking at Johnstown and what they went through, they got a brand new trash service, and it was a big deal to haul out. All those trash cans have to go away, and the new ones have to be delivered, and it's a huge expense. And I was wondering if Waste Management had any kind of, in the bidding, process, if they had an
advantage to.
What?
You will give, yes, almost like a discount or an advantage.
An advantage, yeah. So that some other company can't just flat out just undercut them, and then they're not as good. You think just based on price, they get in, so I was just curious if there was any.
I would assume, based on my history of doing RFPs, not just for trash, but for everything, usually the incumbent does have an advantage. They already have the trucks, they already have the carts, they already have the personnel. A new company comes into town, they may have to buy 2 trucks, 4 trucks. They may have to hire 12 people. So yeah, I'm not sure that necessarily comes out in the end as a discounted price. But I think that they have an advantage because they have no additional cost, where the other guys are trying to recover that upfront cost that they may have to incur.
Yeah. Okay.
I know the bidding, how Johnstown occurred. It was just pretty much we picked the lowest price that met our needs, and so I would expect that to be similar for us.
Okay.
Historically, the last time this went out for RFP, we got 1 bid. So I'm just throwing it out to the board that this is an RFP process, and we will run it like an RFP process. That's my job. But know that last time this went out 5 years ago, we got 1 bid. So just be prepared that we may only get 1 bid again.
Oh, okay.
Because part of the reason this conversation's coming up now, frankly, is the fact that we've been notified that in order to change this, a company that isn't our current service provider would need between 3 and 6 to even 6 to 8 months to gear up for a town this size. So we're trying to level the playing field as much as possible for all potential bidders.
Okay.
That was a really long answer to a simple question. I apologize.
And when is our contract up?
April 30th of next year.
Next year.
Yep. Yeah, and so the timeline is we want to get the feedback that we're getting, get an RFP out so that we can have a contract finalized, probably October or November-ish, to give them the potentially 6 months, to get geared up for town.
Sure.
Okay.
Any other final questions? Need any other direction from us?
What I didn't hear, but I read it between the lines, is the fact that we want to keep trash and recycling. I didn't hear anybody talk about compost, so I probably won't move that direction today. I know there's a lot of places are going that direction. I'm not sure how highly used it is. But yeah, I also heard the cleanup days are necessary. What I will intend to do is I will ask for a bid for our regular stuff, and then I want prices for cleanup days. I also want them to bid for curbside bulk pickup. And then the last piece is that will be included, and I believe it was included in the last one, is we need customer education and outreach. We need to help people understand what goes in the recycle bin and what goes in the garbage, and why we're not picking up your garbage if it's, overflowing onto the street. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess if you would explain how the composting works, maybe we would be interested in it. I don't know how it is.
So normally how I've seen it work is, so your trash gets picked up every week. Every other week, the recycling gets picked up. So usually what they deliver a can similar to every other can you get from them, and it'll be picked up on the opposite every other week that your recycle bin does. Usually it's a smaller can because there's not as much compost, but the idea is that anything natural that can be composted, then they take that and it gets utilized downstream, usually by those people. There's a cost involved to it, just like recycle, just like trash. I mean, I think there's a cost. I have no idea what that is, right. But I think when we rolled it out in Lafayette, and this was probably 8 or 9 years ago, it was cheap. It was like $4 a month or something. But I think we only had about 25% utilization, something like that, maybe only 20%.
Yeah, if recycling's at 50%, that kind of surprises me. So compost has got to be way down compared. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people that compost do it in their backyards and use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, use it in their garden.
They're into that. They're going to do it themselves.
And I think that's why it went over. It actually goes over better in more metro areas where you have the attached homes and that type of thing, because they don't have yards.
Right.
Yeah.
So it goes. I think we're here. We're very much a single family residence type town. So a lot of people have backyards, and the people that want compost are probably doing it themselves already. So I will not include that at this point in time. I saw a lot of head shakes. Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
All right, I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the discussion agenda is front yard landscaping. Cheryl Powell, Town Administrator.
Yes, Mayor. Actually, this one is on here because we had a discussion. City of Greeley currently right now is encouraging residents to do more xeriscaping, and so less water, less grass on their front yards. And they're actually paying them a certain amount of money in order to do this. I forget what the cost is. I know one of my neighbors is attempting to do this or wanting to do this, and I think it's like $400 they're getting it for having done that. It's water. Colorado doesn't have, it has resources, but our resources are being used up pretty quickly with the amount of people moving in to Colorado, and especially northern Colorado at this time. So the mayor and I just wanted to bring it up to the board. I know that I'm sure Pepper may have something to add in regard to this. Thoughts and suggestions as far as what people can do compared to what's currently in our code.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Is this on?
Yes, I think so.
It's just I can't hear with this mask. So we do have a section in our code that encourages water efficiency and landscape design and lists 8 design principles for xeriscaping. Is it enough? I don't know. We can certainly take a look at that. Right now, Milliken standards, we do not regulate anything in the backyard. So if everybody wants to use high water turf grass back there, we have no restrictions on that. In the front yard, we only require that 50% of it be live plantings. So excluding the driveway and the sidewalk, they have to landscape everything from the front building line towards, to the street, right? Which, depending on the size of the lot, is anywhere between 378 square feet and maybe 630 square feet. Half of that is required by our code currently to be in live plantings. We do allow for mulch to be counted as a live planting if it's interspersed with shrubs or trees or flowers or something like that that are drip irrigated. And they would get credit for the area of the mulch, plus the trees and shrubs. We do also encourage less water-intensive grasses. We did this a couple of years ago when we did the Planning for Hazards pilot project through DOLA. So we have some areas in there already. If it's not deemed sufficient, we can certainly take a look at, encouraging different design. And the opportunity to take a look at that, in my opinion, should be when we get new subdivisions in, particularly those that are in planned unit development zoning, because that's kind of a negotiated zoning district. Those are the types of things that we could maybe encourage with new subdivision design. So the older areas of town probably have more landscaped area because they have narrower driveways. They might have wider lot widths. Corner lots are required to have some landscaping on the corner side yard, which would increase that percentage. But again, we only require 50% to be live plantings.
Thank you.
Well, I think between that, if people really look at our code and come up with some ideas as to how they can do this, and it is nice to know that mulch is considered in that category. But also in new subdivisions, I believe we'll be asking for non-potable irrigation systems to be installed. So that, again, alleviates the use of the potable water that we need for drinking.
During last year's land use code update, we also amended our parking lot landscaping requirements to only require landscape berms and, not buffering, but islands, etc., for lots that are 25 parking spaces and over. So again, kind of recognizing what makes sense and maintenance and water and that type of thing. And Cheryl's correct. There is some provisions in here that encourage non-pot systems where they're available.
I think we should take a look at the amount of live plantings that we require. I'm starting to see some people go to rock. It's not for me. It does make the house a little bit hotter. I would not like to really see front yards just full of rock, but kind of a combination type thing. Because water is a scarcity. And if you noticed, it was on the news today that Southern California, they're only allowing their people to water once a week. They are requiring a reduction in usage. They are in dire straits, and they do pull some of their water, I believe, from the Colorado River. And so I think this is just something of the future. And if there's a guy in my neighborhood, he put AstroTurf in his front yard. Nobody's really noticed it yet. He still has some bushes there, and what have you. You know, is it really a bad thing for someone to be conserving water by reducing, and especially if they're having problems getting grass to grow in certain areas of their yard? That's another house in my own subdivision that I've observed that they just can't get the grass to grow. So I'd be interested in knowing what the other board members think. Should we reduce what we require in the front yard?
I think so. I would have a question on how HOAs get involved in this. I know that town trumps HOA, I believe, in those type rules, but I do know that the HOAs are vocal about that, so I'm not sure how those mesh.
So typically covenants can be more restrictive than town ordinances, but not less.
Okay.
However, usually with new subdivisions, the developer provides the town with a copy, a draft of those. So we have the opportunity to compare and make sure that they align. Yeah, but legally, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I can't see what they can be more restrictive, so they could essentially require additional plantings. One thing to note, so for those lots, because we allow up to 30-foot driveways, I calculated this at 20 feet. So on a 50-foot wide lot, you're talking approximately 180 to 190 square feet of live planting. So keep that in mind. It sounds like a lot, but when you look at it, it's maybe not that much. And in the newer subdivisions where we allow now up to 32 feet driveways on a 50 or 55 foot wide lot, and that's just a driveway. That doesn't include the sidewalk, right? And then you've got that little strip left for your landscaping, and 50% of that is required to be live. So, we have what's built now, and we have the current requirements. But again, I'll let Matt chime in on the covenant question.
Okay. The other thing that I'm thinking of is what you mentioned with regard to PUDs. And the question I have is, would we ever in that context negotiate our 50% minimum down below that? Because otherwise I would think that, the key here is that the subdivision and the, is the plat and all those agreements are going to be approved by the town, so we're going to review what their proposal is for landscaping. Is that fair?
We could, although they don't typically provide a landscape design in a preliminary or final plat, but we could in the final PUD development plan. That could be an element. Typically, the PUDs have smaller lots in general. They're looking for density. Our current R1 zoning district requires a 7,500 square foot lot, and that's not the common lot size out in some of our newer developments. So right there, you're already talking about less landscaping and less live plantings, if you will. It's something we can look into if folks think that we have too much water going on live plantings out there. I think the older areas of town probably have a lot more turf grass, and we don't dictate turf grass. Mm-hmm. In fact, we have restrictions on high water turf grass.
So I think the other issue is it's not just, how much grass there is. It's like every year at the start of the season, what do we see? Water running off the sidewalk and down the street. And and then here come the complaints on social media about, wow, my water bill was really high. And it's like, Yeah, and your water's running down the gutter. So it's, if the grass wasn't there, I think there would be a reduction. But the question is how much do we reduce the live plantings, not just the grass?
Yeah, I think the town has been responsible as far as, the 50%. And we have been responsible with water restrictions all along. So I think we've been, a good steward of our water and for the most part and trying to educate people on doing this. But you're never going to always get to everyone.
Yeah.
And so, again, we could look at it. I think what's in our code isn't, I think it's reasonable.
Right, and we did review that with the consultants from DOLA during the Planning for Hazards grant because one of the hazards identified by Milliken was drought. So that's why we took a look at the landscape section. Subdivision design is another opportunity to address that.
Mm-hmm. Just one more quick comment on the question about the HOA requirements meshing. So I think what we have to ask is if we reduce the minimum amount of live planting space that we require as a town, there's not an automatic transition to an HOA similarly reducing its requirements. So in this context, when you say that the HOA can be more restrictive, what that translates to is they can require more grass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, are we going to penalize people who put in rock in their front yard? Some people are doing it. I'm seeing it.
Well, we're not enforcing it. We're not enforcing it because I've got a neighbor. He doesn't really live there. He owns a house, but for 26 years it's all rock in his front yard. His whole front yard's rock, and no one from the town has confronted him, told him you can't do that. It's kind of late now.
Well, 26 years, I don't know what the code was back then. So that's always as a former code enforcement officer.
So maybe, yeah, he was following the code then.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's probably why.
He might have been, but it's difficult for us to track that.
Yeah, we're not out policing,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not looking for, if somebody only has 40% in the yard and not 50%, we're not going to go out and measure. But we would definitely notice today if in a new subdivision they put down rock in their front yard.
Yeah.
So what happened in the past is whatever was allowed back then. We're not out policing, but we're also trying to keep a reasonableness about the whole. Live plantings are also healthy. And if you use drip irrigation, you're using less water. And if you're watering wisely and not letting it run onto the sidewalk and into the, curb, people just need to be responsible and aware of the situation if they intend to have lawns in their yard.
Yeah.
And we do have quite a few citizens that come in and ask about landscaping. We had one this week that came in and they asked about xeriscaping. I don't view the front yard so much as an issue because, again, I think we limit that. It's the backyards that we don't regulate that are possibly the water consumers. People with children, with dogs, they want durable grass. And they want a lawn for people to play on. And that's a significantly more amount of square footage than we're talking about in the front yard. So if we take a look at, do we want to start regulating, what goes in the backyard? And then we have to also consider drainage, heat index, because Cheryl's right. You replace your entire front yard with rock. You're not getting the transvaporation in the water cycle, for one thing, which does help the whole overall water cycle. But it can increase the heat within the home. And then there's the aesthetics, which are goals also, or objectives, intent in our code. So all those things would need to be evaluated and looked at. But I think the front yard landscaping requirements, I think, are pretty reasonable, as Cheryl said. The water consumption is in the backyard, in my opinion.
So what I've seen over the last couple of years is people get that first water bill or second water bill, and then they quit watering the front yard, so we got nothing but dead grass or dormant grass in the front yard. So what would you rather look at? Dormant grass with weeds growing or some type of rock?
Yeah, I think we need to come back and take a look at reducing the amount of live plantings in the front yard.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of looking at that. Obviously not making it 0, but.
I mean, and maybe we put out a little thing to new people saying, hey, here's what your average water bill's gonna be for this size of the yard. They got something to look at when they go to do their landscaping, that they can run some calculations to make sure they can afford it.
Oh, that's true.
Because a lot of these new houses, people move in, they're spending everything they got to get in the house.
Exactly.
And they can't afford to pay the water bill, so they just don't water. And we got new subdivisions where the front yards look like crap.
No, and you're absolutely correct. You know, and sometimes they don't realize that all they have to have is 50% in their front yard currently. And you drive by some of these homes and they have a front yard full of bluegrass and the required trees. So, I mean, I think it's an education process as well, to letting these people know that you don't have to have a front yard full of bluegrass. You can have a small section of grass, but remember, live plantings and mulch are counted as that live material.
Well, new construction, that's all the builders, because you don't get a CO until you get a front yard in. So,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, this starts with the builders.
And perhaps that's maybe where it should start, when they're, you know, I want to landscape my front yard, I've got somebody coming out to do it. I don't want a yard full of bluegrass, I want it landscaped like this.
Well, and the builders are doing the front yards.
Right, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
a requirement of their CO.
Right.
So in order to close, they have to have that. But an option you have is to give them a year to install their landscaping.
Yeah.
And the developers did participate a lot in a discussion about landscaping, if you recall, during the land use code. In fact, our major developer here, you know, pointed out that some communities don't require that the builder put in the landscaping. We had a lot of discussion back and forth about that. And I think where we landed was kind of Leron's comment that some of these people are putting everything they have into buying this and they don't have money left over to landscape the front yard, and then where are we, right? So, but they also let us know, Windmill Homes let us know, that they offer options to homeowners in terms of what their landscaping is. So, you know, it sounds to me like it's a joint decision between the developer and the new owner as to what that front yard looks like.
Yeah, I think as long as they have the requisite tree, and they've got some bushes, if they want to put in rock and they do something that, and it doesn't have a bunch of weeds in it, I don't see a problem with it, really.
We were builders 5 years ago, and we had 0 choice in anything that went in.
Here in Milligan?
Because I would have picked some different stuff.
I wasn't here 5 years ago, so I'm not sure, but we can have a conversation.
And we
if you'd
just
like.
redid our land use code. So
Yeah, it may have been prior.
it may, yeah.
But I can speak to that we had 0 choice.
I can't remember, the landscape code we didn't do a major overhaul on because it was one of the more recent sections of the code versus the majority of it, which was 2002. So, you know, again, that's why these things are dynamic and why we update them from time to time and re-review as conditions change. So
Well, and if we lower it from 50%, you know, they could give those options if they are giving options, you know, for more zero-scaped front yard.
So if you have a 50-foot lot and you've got a 30-foot driveway, you've got 20 feet left. So if you think about 50% of that, you've got 10 feet and by the setback, 10 feet by 20 or 21 or 22. That's what you have to have for live plantings. Am I doing my math right? It's late. So, if you can kind of visualize that, of course, not every lot is the same. We do have estate-sized lots that are larger than that in other areas of town. So we can definitely take a look at it, and if you want to email me your thoughts, we'll take a look. We don't give credit for rock for live plantings. It does have to be wood mulch or organic. But I did have a question the other day from somebody about using recycled
Plastic.
Rubber.
Tires, right.
Yeah.
And we need to consider drainage as well, stormwater runoff. So happy to take a look at that.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing no further business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're out. No nays.